culminating in the 2005 Comprehensive Peace Agreements, one of the most crucial steps in Sudan's history. As a direct attack against the steps taken by the Bashir government's unification, conflict re-emerged once more in early 2003 with rebel groupings such as the Justice and Equality Movement led by Tarabi protege Khalil Ibrahim, attacking government infrastructure and law enforcement under the guise of liberation movements. In order to prevent the sabotage of the Comprehensive Peace Agreements, the government utilized counterinsurgency methods.
What had happened is that the previous shake-up in the government of Sudan had been involved the Muslim Brotherhood. Now, the Muslim Brotherhood is essentially a British intelligence operation, or British intelligence-controlled operation from the top down. And what had happened in this process is that people who had been associated with the Muslim Brotherhood broke with the Muslim Brotherhood and became Sudan nationalists.
On March 4, 2009, the International Criminal Court put out a warrant for the arrest of Sudanese President al-Bashir. This can only be seen in the light of the continued British destabilization efforts in Sudan. Take a look at the ICC. The creators of the ICC are Lord Mark Malloch Brown, Secretary General of the British government's Foreign and Commonwealth Office for Asia and Africa and the United Nations, and George Soros, a worldwide dope pusher and speculator whose career began as a Jew working for the Nazi government. The creation of the ICC dates back to Bertrand Russell's founding of the World Federalist Movement in 1947, in order to carry out his plans for a one-world government. In 1995, the World Federalist Movement, now funded by Soros, created the Coalition for the International Criminal Court, which finally established the ICC. All of the nations targeted are part of Africa, and all, through these actions, would be brought back under colonial control and would lose their national sovereignty. Just look at the conditions of life of the people in the Darfur region. The majority of the population relies on farming and grazing for their livelihood. Water is scarce with unstable yearly rainfall, and the majority of the land area is a vast desert with yearly desertification of up to 6 kilometers per year. In southern Sudan, illiteracy rates have skyrocketed, optimistically estimated at 80%. The fight over scarce natural resources and land and harsh living conditions represents the greatest problems for Sudan.
If you zoomed into Africa from outer space and looked at this landmass, it's the second biggest in the world after Asia, figuring bordered on the Ural Mountains. It's completely underpopulated as far as what its great potential is. It has fewer than 1 billion people. Less than India, less than China, and it's a whole huge continent. And there it is with special features. It's got the biggest extent of desert in the world, far bigger than Arabia, the famous Sahara Desert. It has the second biggest volume of river flow in the world after the Amazon, the Great Congo. It has the longest river in the world, the Nile River. It has these features, as every continent does. That's not a constraint, it's a challenge, it's a great treasure. And yet it's been completely suppressed as far as any of the normal defining characteristics of modern technology.
So to solve the crisis in Sudan, we must understand that we are not looking to manage the internal politics of a nation or to accelerate tribalism or arbitrary rifts. We are looking to increase the standard of living and the quality of life of the people by developing the land area and educating the citizenry. That should be the explicit mission for any solution to the current crisis.
Now, this is the real story. The story is that with the collapse of the international financial and economic system, the British Empire system, the globalization system, now they want to demolish anything which has anything to do with the sovereignty of nation states.
The continued conflict and destabilization in the Darfur region today has overshadowed one of the greatest infrastructure projects constructed in the whole of Africa, the Merowe Dam project. Designed for irrigation with a 1.24 billion cubic meter reservoir to serve 4 million people in the surrounding area. This dam has the potential to produce 1,250 megawatts of electricity per hour and, in conjunction with the Al Ghazira Storage Irrigation Project, will irrigate over 2 million hectares of land. Nearby lies the nation's largest airport. potentially a major hub for international flights connecting Europe and the Middle East to Africa, and several state-of-the-art medical facilities and housing for the welfare of the displaced population. Already, the government has launched a resettlement plan relocating 70,000 inhabitants into modern villages with paved roads, electricity, running water, sewage systems, modern educational systems, and healthcare centers, and turning hundreds of thousands of acres into arable land. Sudan is one of the most fertile and agriculturally rich nations in Africa, with over 1/3 of its land area capable of agricultural development.
Just divert a certain amount of the Congo flow northward. You can do that through the tributary, the Ubangi River, and then it can meet up with the Chari River that goes into the former Chad Lake. It's a Chad Basin area. That this creates a whole development potential in sub-Saharan Africa, which is right now the part of the epicenter of this created conflict called the Darfur crisis.
With this potential harness, Sudan has the capability to become a breadbasket for all of Africa and even the Middle East, ending starvation completely.
In our project of this 5 years development plan, we are planning to connect the entire Sudan with the West, including what we call Chad, including Central African Republic, Congo. We have now penetrated a big route going to Eritrea and Ethiopia already. Uganda and us, we are planning on a railroad connection. And sooner, if this government continues and wins the elections next year, we will completely concentrate on developing our land. You know, we are limited in technology, but we will use whoever who is friendly to us to help us achieve the development. You are right, we need to prevent the existence of famines. We don't expect, to continue having people hungry and unhealthy in Sudan when we have oil, when we have the largest quantity of waters in the world, when we have a fertile land. All these things are only, we are to this stage because of the 50 years of war. Instead of buying pumps, we are buying tanks, we are going, Sometimes these are necessary because of the incursion by enemies, but the enemies want to keep us down. We will defy them, we will put aside this fighting among ourselves by all means. That's what we're doing. And concentrate on development, because only through development will we eradicate all the scourges of hunger, of disease, of illiteracy. These are things we have in our mind to work on.
So you look at Sudan and you see a young nation with a vast potential and ability to play a leading role in today's world. That potential has been wasted and not allowed to develop. The case of Sudan, however, cannot be taken in and of itself. Rather, Sudan is exemplary of what is wrong with the current world financial system we are living under, the system which is presently in an accelerating collapse. Today, leading governments must use the fight for the nation of Sudan and its potential to destroy the British Empire and to implement instead a system of sovereign nations acting together to develop the world.
But our interest in Africa, our interest in parts of the world, is to not just to make friends. That's a kind of a sloppy term. Our function as the United States, as we're a republic, our interest in the world is not to have any empires. We hate the British Empire, not only because of the crimes it commits and still commits, but we don't like empires. We believe in nation states. We believe in representative government, constitutional government, nation states. We believe in nation-state building. We don't believe in globalization. We believe in nation-state building. Globalization is an empire. We don't believe in empires. And therefore, our policy should be consistently to develop, wherever we have the opportunity, to assist in developing nation-state building and dealing with problems such as food shortages, disease control, these kinds of things, practical measures. And the only time we go to war is when we have to defend something like that. And we fight only when that's necessary and only as far as that's necessary. We don't get involved with these imperial policies of this type.